what I try and do is have the transition area as clean as possible, so the least amount of your gear there, the better. But obviously the gear that you need for the race. So if we start off, obviously swim to bike, we're coming in, the wetsuit's coming off. You should always have the wetsuit down around to your waist before you come into the transition area. So the run up out of the water, you're taking the wetsuit off your arms, stripping it down to your waist, keeping your swim cap and your goggles on your head, and then just work it down, run to your bike. Now it's important to know where your bike is, so as I leave transition, I always get a visual of where my bike is placed, and hopefully you can sort of figure it out where it is as you're coming in out of the water. But as soon as you hit the beach and you start working through the removing of the wetsuit, think where your bike is, because too many people will quickly run into transition and all of a sudden trying to realise where the bike is and they've already run past it. So as long as you know where your bike is, then we're sweet. So I don't usually put a towel down because I don't really want to have to, I don't really have a need for a towel, but some of you might like to put a towel down just because it allows you just to dry your feet off a little bit or get some of the dust off your feet before you jump on the bike. Now, you might have your cycle shoes on the ground, so you can put them on quickly and then run out of transition with your bike, or you might have your cycle shoes clipped onto your pedals and ready and waiting for when you jump on your bike and you slide your feet into your shoes. That's quite a skill, and it's something that you should take some time to practice, but don't wait till race day to do it because it's going to end in embarrassment. So it's a very, very good skill to learn, but it's also quite difficult to learn, and everyone's cycle shoes are slightly different. So my cycle shoes, for example, I've got a particular way that I get my feet into them and I tighten them up. Other people might have a slightly different sort of cycle shoe, completely different way of doing it. So learn the best way to get your feet into your shoes, and just practice it. The more you practice it, the better. So if I'm running out of transition with my cycle shoes on, you just got to be really careful that you don't slip over, because a lot of the cycle shoes cleats are quite slippery, and so just be aware as you exit transition what you're running onto, and which is why I found it was good to learn how to put my shoes on, my feet in my shoes when they're on my bike, because I didn't have to worry about slipping over in transition. So that's a really important thing to do, is just to make sure that you're a little bit careful doing that. And then, but if you do have your cycle shoes on your bike, then what I recommend you do is they're obviously hanging, and lost it. Anyway, you can get a rubber band, and you can hook a rubber band through your back of your shoe over your derailleur, so your shoe's just hanging like that on both sides. So obviously the other one's hanging behind, and you can attach a rubber band on your quick release skewer or around your brake caliper or something. So that just leaves your shoes ready for your feet to slide in. It's a really, really good way to do it. And the rubber band will just break, and it's attached to your shoe anyway, so it's not really going to go anywhere. It won't get caught up in your chain or anything, but it does make life a lot easier than trying to put your feet in your shoes when they're hanging like that. If you are going to practice putting your feet in your shoes when you're on a bike, do practice them without rubber bands, because there's a chance the rubber band might break, and then you've got to do that anyway. So just practice for all scenarios if you're going to follow that technique. The other thing that I do, even if you don't have your shoes hanging on your bike, it's a good idea to shake some talcum powder inside the shoe, so that when you do come and put your feet in, that's why I don't have a towel, because it blows away and then you lose your towel. Rub some talcum powder into your shoe, and so that when you do slide your foot in, it just slides in really nice and smoothly, nice and quickly. But I also do that when they're hanging off the bike as well. Makes it much easier, much quicker. I'll also do it to my running shoes as well, because the running shoes obviously, again, they can be quite tight to slide in, but if a bit of talcum powder in there, they'll just slide in, no worries. If you wear socks, I recommend not wearing socks on the bicycle, particularly because if you're putting your feet into wet, and if you're putting wet feet into socks, they can get tangled up and it can be really hard to put on, and you can lose a lot of time. It can be quite frustrating. I would wait until after the bike before I put my socks on and use them for the run only. Anything short, I don't wear socks anyway. But again, you don't want to practice that on race day. You want to try that in training. So if you think you can go without socks for a shorter distance race, to give it a go. But if you think you need to put socks on, then wait till transition 2. Wait till the second transition to put your socks on. As we move back up from the bike, so obviously you've got your helmet at the ready. And if you like to wear sunglasses on your bike, some helmets allow you to have the glasses actually sitting in the helmet itself. So all you do is you chuck your helmet on your head, do it up, and then you jump on the bike, and later on, once you're on the bike, you can take your glasses off and put them on, and you can look cool in the photos. If they don't stick onto your helmet like these, then just have them somewhere in the transition area that you can pick them up quickly and go. Some people will actually have them sitting inside their helmet like that. Just be aware, if you do have it that way, things can get bumped and the helmet might get knocked off, and then it can end up on the ground, and that can, you might lose the glasses, or they might get broken or something. So again, just making sure it's simple and really well thought through. Transition areas can be pretty busy as well, so you might not have enough room to hang your helmet off your bicycle. If that's the case, I'd have it on the ground, straps out ready, so all you've got to do is just come along, put on your head and do it up. These specialised helmets are great because they've got a magnetic buckle. You don't have to fight with the buckle at all. This is a really good idea if you've got a specialised helmet.
Or resting on your aero bars?
Or resting on your aero, yeah. If you've got aero bars, they might be sitting there as well, which is good. In some races, you don't have to wear your race number belt on the bike, which is great. So I'll have my race number belt ready in transition to put on as I leave for the run. But I don't stand there putting it on, looking around, and then taking off. This is usually in my tooth, or I'm putting my hat on, getting my gels out, putting them in my back pocket, and as I'm running out of transition, I'm putting my belt on. Okay, so the least amount of standing around doing stuff, the better. So I'll try and pick things up and just run with it, and I'm putting things on and doing things up as I'm running. So I don't want to be standing around waiting for other people to catch up. Some races you have to wear the number belt on the bike. If that's the case, and if you've practiced it in training, you could wear the belt on under your wetsuit. But just be really careful that as you pull your wetsuit off, there's always a risk that you can pull the number off at the same time, and that'll end in tears, because I think they disqualify you if you don't have a number on. So again, if you're confident with that, do it, but that's something you want to practice. For the sake of saving 2 or 3 seconds, it might be better just to have your number in your transition area ready to put on. In some races, so if you were to do a normal sprint or Olympic distance race, your transition area is by your bike, and or where your bike's wrecked. You swim to bike and your bike to run transition. In some longer races like Ironman and some half Ironman races, there's a changing tent, and in which case, as you run into transition, you'll pick up a bag and you'll run to the tent, get changed, and then run out of the tent to grab your bike. And then as you get off the bike, you might wreck your bike, pick your bag up, and you may or may not run to a tent to get changed. Some of those half Ironmans you get changed by your bicycle. So I made that mistake once in Cairns, where I didn't read the race manual properly, and I just immediately thought that it was a change tent. So I wrapped my bike, picked my bag up, went to run to the exit, and looking for the tent, and I'm like, oh, I'm on the run course now, and I haven't got changed. And I saw one of the officials, so I knew, and I was like, where's the change tent? And he says, there's no change tent for the 7.3. And I was like, oh, that's not very good, is it? So I had to get changed by the run exit, by the transition exit, and I was left with this bag. And I was like, and fortunately, he was nice to me and he took the bag for me. But that was an embarrassing moment. So read the manual, make sure you understand how the transition is going to work, and yeah, get it right. Don't be embarrassed by getting it wrong like The other thing with transition, I always make sure is that you pick up your gear and not someone else's. So it's easy in the heat of a race. There might be two people with the same sort of running shoe. Suddenly you're putting their shoe on, and it's not your shoe, which could be a nuisance as well. So just double check that the area that you're working in is actually your designated area, not someone else's. So I use elastic laces in most distance races. So these are great. You just slide your foot in, and you're gone. But in a longer race, like a half Ironman, in an Ironman race, I would actually use normal laces to do my shoes up, just because I want to be more comfortable, a little bit more support. But if you have elastic laces, make sure you train with them as well, because they don't hold your foot quite as tight. They can be a little bit unstable, a little bit uncomfortable. So again, it's one of those things. What you're going to do in training and racing, you should practice in training. So you have those simulation sessions to really nail that sort of stuff. Do you have anything that you can offer?
A few little tips and tricks. I pretty much exactly the same as Rob. If you're allowed to put a towel down, some races you're not. I do, because it helps me recognise where my bike is. So I always put something like a bright pink towel down, something like that. And it just helps me figure out where my bike is. I tend to wear my race belt underneath my wetsuit. It's just a habit I've gotten into, because I find it's one less thing that I need to worry about in transition. But as Rob said, be really, really careful when you're pulling your wetsuit down that doesn't come off. It's never happened to me, but it could.
It's never happened to me either.
Just be really aware of it. I also put my shoes on my bike with a rubber band. I probably get on slightly differently from you. There's a couple of different ways you can do it, so maybe that's something we can do another day. Because a lot of the guys in particular you'll see will just like throw themselves onto the bike and let their feet go in, whereas I tend to run up and I put the outside foot on and then swing my leg over, so it's slightly different. Watch YouTube videos is one of the best ways I learned how to do it, and like practice. I would literally spend an hour once a week just practicing my transitions, and somewhere like this is great if there's no cars, because you can just go up, down, and like use the pedestrian crossing as your dismount line. You know, just practice. Buy lots of rubber bands. Putting my helmet and glasses on. I'll generally decide before the ride if I want to wear my glasses or not. And I always put them on before I put my helmet on, because sometimes I've been caught out where I've put my helmet on first and then my glasses, and I've wanted to keep my glasses on for the run, but when I've taken my helmet off, they've gotten tangled up in the straps and they've just kind of come with my helmet. But that's just something that I do slightly differently. So then when I take my helmet off, I don't have to worry about my glasses. I can just grab my cap, I'll chuck my shoes on, grab my cap and go. And I'm the same as Rob. I'll run out of transition with things in my hand rather than stand there and put them on. So I just run out, I'll put my cap on as I go, grab my glasses, put them on, and if I didn't wear them on the bike. Yep, same, I use elastic laces. Don't wear socks for anything standard or below. Everything else is pretty much the same.
Fuel. I always put my fuel for my run into my run shoes, so there's no way I can forget it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. In fact, I saw a good tip on Instagram the other day where someone would have their fuel in a Ziploc bag. So it's just in one bag, all their gels, whatever they have, and so that's all they've got to deal with. And then while they're running, they can then take it out and distribute it into the various pockets. I think that's quite a good idea.
Other thing I do, specific more so for standard and shorter, not so much for the longer distance stuff, is I'll have probably four gels and then some more for on the bike. But I'll have 4 gels, girls. This is a great tip. I tuck one on each side of my sports bra, and I tuck one up under each side of my my race suit, and I'll have that on before I even go into the swim. So wetsuit goes on over top of that, and they stay there pretty good. I've never had a problem with any of them coming out. So as you're running along, you can literally just grab one.
Yeah, that's good.
And for the bike, it's a good place if you've got your shoes on your bike, then to put your nutrition in your helmet if it's not somehow attached to your bike, because then you have to have your helmet on, you won't forget your nutrition.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, again, you can have your gels in your tri-suit under your wetsuit, so they're always in your pocket. Although I made that mistake once where I had salt tablets, did the swim, came out, salt tablets were just gone. So it was a bad mistake. So again, one of those things you should think through and practice. Oh mate, I've done all the mistakes, so don't worry about that.
I tape gels to my crossbar.
Yeah.
You've just got to practice which one you tape on first, because you've got to tape the bottom ones on and tape the top ones over that, so that you're not trying to rip off the wrong one and the tape gets stuck and things like that. But if you tape them well, you can actually just rip it straight off, and the tape will hold the top bit onto your bike. You just rip it off and it's good to go, so you're not having to like fiddle around with ripping the top off.
Yeah. Transitions are really important. Like you see, it can really ruin a race by something simple like we talk about mounting and dismounting. It seems pretty easy, but I've seen people crash into big barriers and break bikes and all sorts of things just for the sake of trying to save a second or two doing something they haven't quite practiced or just not nailed. I had my drink bottles off the back of my seat, and I spent a whole season knocking my drink bottle off because the way I was jumping on my bike wasn't quite right. So I had to redesign the way I had my bottles, or I had to change the way I was getting on my bike. It was just little things like that can really ruin a race. So
one thing we didn't talk about was getting off your bike. A lot of people will do this where you're actually, as you're coming up to the dismount line, probably leave yourself a couple of 100 metres, especially if you're not used to doing it. But you can actually, if you've got those particular shoes or Velcro shoes, you can undo your Velcro, pull your foot out of your shoe on one side, then do the other one, and so your feet are sitting on top of your shoes, and then as you're coming up to the dismount line, you can kind of swing your one leg off, and as you come up to the mountain line, just jump off your bike and run. So rather than having to brake, stop, get off the bike, unclip, run into transition, it actually becomes a lot quicker. But again, practice. Don't just try and do it on race day.
YouTube is good, like Carolyn said, just watch how other people do it. Don't practice it on a grassy field.